I don't really know where to start, so I guess I will just start at the beginning. I would like to start this video with saying that I owe absolutely nobody an explanation, nor does any person that has this procedure. The reason why someone goes through with this procedure is none of your business. They don't have to validate it or give it a reason or explain the reason to you. This is healthcare, and it is absolutely none of your concern what anyone chooses to do with their body. Having said that, I would like to tell the entire story from beginning to end as I remember it. If you guys have been following me for some time, you know that I have made so many videos on this channel about really horrible things that have happened to me, bad things that I did, prison sentences, addiction, mental health. I have made so many videos about my life story and I held nothing back. This video is going to be no different. I'm going to, for the first time, talk about every single thing that happened. I just believe that it is time. I'm ready to share this story. It is time to share this story, and it is because of you guys, the Ride or Die crew. You guys give me so much confidence and courage to tell these really difficult stories on this channel. And it has taken me over 3 years to sit down and film this story, but we're here, and I want to be perfectly clear to the person that has threatened to share this story without my permission. You have no power over me. To the person that has threatened over the years to make multiple videos exposing this story, this video is not for you. This video is for my subscribers, and this video is for me so that I can close this chapter and move on to a new one. If you are new here and this is the first video that you are seeing of me, hi, my name is Jess. I'm a person in long-term recovery who has served time in prison, and on this channel I have shared some of my most heartbreaking videos, including having a baby in prison, overcoming addiction, my mental health struggles, and so much more. Quite a while back, I filmed a video about my emotionally abusive marriage. I also filmed a Q&A to that video, and that's kind of where this story takes place. I was a teenager, and I was dating Randy, who you guys have met on this channel several times. I was an addict, and I was using heroin on a daily basis, as well as anything that I could get my hands on. Pills, alcohol, you name it. I partied and used drugs every single day, and I was a drug addict at this time. I hadn't been dating Randy for very long when I found out that I was pregnant. I went to Planned Parenthood and I had a test done there. They gave me a piece of paper. I went home, which at the time was with my parents, and I tucked that piece of paper away, and I tried in the next couple of days to figure out what I was gonna do. All of my friends around me acted like this was the biggest tragedy that could have ever happened. I was not getting informed information on anything really. I was just very, very scared. Not long after I had found out that I was pregnant, I found out that Randy was then cheating on me with 3 different women. And I was devastated, just absolutely devastated, because this is a person that I was head over heels in love with, and I thought that he was my person. At this time, I had been dating Randy not that long, but I just fell in love with him. It was like this love at first sight crap. I really felt like this was my person. So to find out that he was cheating on me with not 1, but 3 different women was just so traumatizing for me. I went to him and I told him that I knew that he was cheating on me. He tried to kind of play spin control and manipulate the situation and say that he didn't know that we were official, I guess. I don't know. It was a whole bunch of bullshit. The day after I found out that Randy was cheating on me with 3 different women, my parents found out that I was pregnant. And as they've shared on this channel, and as I've shared on this channel, I moved out. They kicked me out. It was a mutual thing, but this was the fight that kicked it off. My My parents found the sheet from Planned Parenthood that said I was pregnant, and that was just, it was an awful fight, and I immediately packed a bag. And I remember walking down the street, and I just had nowhere to go. I could go to a trap house, and really that was about it. I couldn't go to Randy's house because he lived with his mom, but also he was cheating on me and we had just broken up. I told him, that I was not going to be with him. And I remember just walking down the side of the road with a duffel bag, crying, really confused and hurt, and I didn't know what to do. At this point, I called Steve, who I've mentioned in these videos in the past, and I just told him the situation. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. At this time, Steve was living with his brother and his sister-in-law, so he also did not have a home of his own or a job. I just didn't know what to do, and I didn't know who to call. I'm going to share another video on this channel about that relationship when I'm ready, but it was a very emotionally abusive relationship. Steve came and picked me up and took me back to his brother's house, which was a couple towns over from where I was living at the time. And I was love bombed by Steve. He told me that he was there for me and we're gonna figure this out together, and all I would have to do is have an abortion and we could start over fresh. Now, I had already been thinking about this decision because my mom struggled, right? I was raised in Section 8 housing and on food stamps, and here I am homeless, jobless, had no money, nowhere to go, no resources, no family now because I was just kicked out, and I didn't know what to do, and I was really, really scared. And I thought it was really irresponsible that I let this happen. And as I tried to walk that back in my mind, I had realized that I left it up to my ex to make sure that he pulled out. Now, I know that is TMI. Do not leave it up to the guy. Make sure that you are using protection at all times. Just to back up here a little bit, I had previously threatened to break up with him. And I believe that this was intentional. I believe that he got me pregnant intentionally so that I couldn't leave. And that was also a very toxic and manipulative and awful relationship. And I was just very, very lost at this time. So fast forward, I'm now at Steve's house, at his brother's house. He is love bombing me and telling me that this is all I have to do and everything's gonna be okay. I confided in another friend of mine, and that friend also was like, yes, this is what you should do. And ultimately, this is my decision. It was my decision to go forward with the procedure. I felt as though it was the only responsible decision I had made in my entire life, because what kind of a life could I offer? I was a drug addict and a drug dealer, homeless, and my ex was now calling Steve's house every day and threatening me. He was telling me that if I went through with this, he was going to find me and kill me. So finally the day came where I went to the clinic, and I went there, and there was protesters outside. So I think they were dressed as nuns. It was really intimidating and scary. I went in and I asked, several questions. Now, in the very early stages of pregnancy, there's no way of knowing if this is going to be a viable embryo, especially considering the amount of drugs that I was taking. So that was one of my first questions. Is this going to be a viable pregnancy if I decided to go through with it? No one could give me definitive answers at the clinic, and that just made me even more scared. The reason behind that is because I was so early on in the pregnancy that, there was no way of knowing if this embryo would grow to be a viable, healthy pregnancy. We didn't know. But I went through with the procedure, which was like 45 minutes away from where I was staying at Steve's brother's house. And I remember a friend took me, and I remember getting out of the car and walking up to the house, and Steve was inside. And I walked through the door, and him and his brother and his sister-in-law, they were all laughing, and they were in such a good mood, and they were just so happy, and that energy was very different from how I left. They were encouraging, but very somber, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't a happy energy. Well, when I got back, it was very different. But I remember standing in the doorway and seeing them happy and laugh. And I walked past them to go into the kitchen because I had to take some medication that they gave me at the clinic. And I'm sore and in pain and like completely speechless because this energy was so different. And Steve followed me into the kitchen and asked me if it was done. And I said, yes, I have to take this medicine and I have to do this and that. And I was so tired and I just didn't feel good and I was in a lot of pain. And so I went and laid down. I'll never forget laying down in pain and hearing Steve strut around the house for days, happy and proud. I remember Randy calling and asking to talk to me, and Steve yelling at him and saying that he killed his baby. I was so depressed that I couldn't really get out of the bed, and this lasted for a week or two. And my addiction spiraled out of control at that point. All I cared about at that point was getting away from Steve long enough to get my hands on drugs. But I tried my absolute best during the course of the next 6 months that I was staying with Steve. And we had to get married because I was on paper at the time, and it was just such a awful situation. But I remember just wanting to get away from him long enough to be able to go get high. But I tried my best to be normal, so at some point, Steve's mom says to me, you can come work as a CNA. They have a training program, and it's a great program, and they pay you to get your CNA. Well, at this point, Steve didn't have a job, and he was living with his brother, so I signed up to get my CNA, and I worked and got us an apartment, and I was trying my absolute best to be like a normal functioning member of society. I was so depressed and I did not want to be with Steve. I was a teenager when this was happening, and I was so emotional and so lost and hurt and suicidal. There was even one point, a couple of months after the abortion, that I overdosed, and Steve found me. I don't want to see one comment where anyone says most women regret their decision, because you don't know what most women feel. All I knew was that I was not okay, and my mental health took a severe hit. Not only did I have Randy calling all the time telling me he was going to kill me, but members of his family were calling and harassing me. The girl at Planned Parenthood told everyone that I was there, so my hometown was just buzzing with this, and they were all calling me a murderer and all telling me that I deserved to die, and I was being threatened on a daily basis. No one should ever have to go through that. No one should ever have to make this really hard decision and be manipulated every step of the way and then threatened after it happens. I was threatened over and over again. All the while, Steve was like laughing in my face about it, laughing in Randy's face about it, and this was a traumatic event. But I will say at every point I was being manipulated and pulled in different directions, and I was so alone during this time that I couldn't really talk to anyone about it. As you guys know, I went through a really traumatic event when my daughter was born, Micah. I was chained to a bed in prison for 2 days and left in chains. I gave birth in chains in prison because of my addiction. And yes, I know I broke the law, but no one deserves that trauma. I deserve to go to prison. I did not deserve that trauma. If you have had to make this difficult decision, and 1 in 4 women by the time they are 40 will undergo this procedure, please know that I stand with you, and I know how hard it is. You are not alone, and it is something that I still think about, but right now, I'm 32. This happened when I was a teenager. Something that has gotten me through is that I made the best decision at the time. I did what I thought was best at the time. I can't think about what my life would have looked like if I had made a different decision. I can't think about what my life would have looked like if I hadn't have married Steve. I can't live in the past in that way. I just have to know that I made the best decision for myself at the time, and it was not easy. And to have people from my past threaten to make videos about my story, exposing a piece of my past that is so painful, is disgusting. And this is my way of taking that power back. And this is my way of sharing with all of you that you are not alone in this experience. And it is a very difficult decision. I stand by you in your decision. Abortions are healthcare. The way that things are going in our country today, especially in Texas and Mississippi, it's absolutely horrifying. And people that wish to have this procedure, they deserve access to safe and legal abortions. Not only that, but people in this country deserve access to safe, judgment-free birth control methods. And when I say that, I mean it is a fact that women in this country have a very hard time tying their tubes for many different reasons. Doctors in this country in 2021 can deny women getting their tubes tied, but if a man walks in and asks for a vasectomy, he can get it instantly. And I know if you have never experienced that or seen it with your own two eyes, that sounds insane, it sounds radical, but it is absolutely true. Women in this country do in fact have a difficult time getting their tubes tied because of their age, because of their pregnancy history. Some doctors want you to be 25 with 3 kids before they will do that procedure for you. The only reason you should need to get your tubes tied is because you want it done. The only reason you should need to get an abortion is because you feel it's the right decision. Women should not have to explain themselves to anyone. If you want that procedure done, you should have it. Women should not be forced to give birth before they get their tubes tied. Women should not be forced to give birth in prison just for their babies to be ripped out of their arms and placed in foster care. There are horrifying things happening in this country. And I would like to end this video with saying that over 400,000 kids are in the foster care system. If you have it in your heart to foster, I would highly recommend that you look into it. You could be a part-time foster parent. You could do respite care, which is essentially just babysitting foster babies. I highly recommend that you look into those things. Please know that this video is so hard for me. Mostly because I don't talk about it in my daily life now, but it is something that I'm not going to let other people threaten me over. It was what I thought was best at the time. I'm gonna end today's video here. As always, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay in recovery, whatever that looks like to you. And please do not cast shame and judgment on anyone that has made these hard decisions, because you don't know the full story of what anyone is going through. Bye, you guys.